There are meetings in life that seem ordinary at first. A conversation, a passing moment, a familiar face appearing at an unexpected time. And yet, something within you recognizes that this moment carries a different weight. It is difficult to explain. You may try to forget it. You may create distance. Life may take you in different directions. Time may pass. Silence may grow. Circumstances may change. But some connections leave a mark that distance cannot erase. This does not mean that every person who enters your life is meant to stay forever. And it does not mean that destiny will force two people to remain together, regardless of their choices. True connection is not about obsession, control, or chasing someone who has chosen to leave. Real destiny is quieter than that. When two souls are truly meant to meet, the purpose of their meeting will find a way to unfold. Sometimes they remain together. Sometimes they part and meet again. Sometimes their connection teaches a lesson that changes both lives forever. But what is meant for your life does not require you to destroy yourself trying to force it. You do not have to chase the sun to see the morning. You do not have to command a seed to become a tree. You do not have to force what has already begun to grow. There are things in life that become clear only when you stop trying to control every outcome. And perhaps the deepest form of love is not asking, how can I make this person stay? Perhaps it is asking, what is this connection teaching me about myself? Because sometimes two souls are meant to meet not merely to complete each other, but to awaken each other. Here are 5 lessons to understand the mystery of a connection that is truly meant to happen. Fear has a powerful way of making the heart believe that everything valuable is always about to disappear. When you are afraid of losing someone, you may begin to hold them too tightly. You may constantly search for signs that they are changing. You may overthink their silence, question every small difference in their behavior, and wonder whether one wrong word could make them walk away forever. Slowly, love can become a place of anxiety instead of peace. But you must understand something important. There is a difference between making an effort and chasing with fear. Making an effort means speaking honestly. It means showing care. It means being present, keeping your word, and taking responsibility when you make a mistake. Effort comes from strength because you are giving something freely. You are not trying to purchase love with your kindness. You are not destroying yourself to prove your worth. You are simply showing up as the best version of yourself. Fear is different. Fear says, I must do more, or they will leave. Fear says, I must change who I am, or I will not be enough. Fear says, I must keep chasing, because if I stop, everything will disappear. And this is how many people lose themselves while trying not to lose someone else. You must be careful when love begins to cost you your peace. When every day becomes a battle to get someone's attention, something inside you begins to suffer. You may forget your own dreams because you are focused on their mood. You may ignore your own needs because you are afraid that asking for too much will push them away. You may remain silent about what hurts you because you believe that peace at any cost is better than being alone. But that is not peace. That is fear wearing the mask of love. A true connection does not mean there will never be challenges. Every human relationship will experience misunderstandings, difficult moments, and periods of uncertainty. Two people can care deeply for each other and still have differences. But difficulty is not the same as constantly having to chase someone for basic respect, attention, and honesty. Do not confuse anxiety with love simply because the feeling is intense. Sometimes the strongest emotions are not signs that something is right. Sometimes they are signs that an old wound has been touched. Perhaps you learned long ago that love must be earned. Perhaps you became afraid that people would leave if you were not useful enough, beautiful enough, quiet enough, or perfect enough. So, when someone becomes distant, the old fear wakes up, and suddenly you are no longer responding only to the present moment. You are responding to every past moment when you felt abandoned, rejected, or unseen. This is why you must learn to pause before sending another message. Pause before begging someone to explain their silence. Pause before changing yourself to become more acceptable. Pause. Ask yourself, am I acting from love or am I acting from fear? Because love allows you to remain yourself. Fear demands that you abandon yourself. You cannot force another heart to choose you. You cannot control another person's readiness, emotions, or decisions. You can communicate with honesty. You can show your intentions. You can make a sincere effort. But after that, you must allow people the freedom to reveal who they truly are. The person who truly values you should not need to be chased into seeing your worth every day. And if someone leaves because you stopped running after them, perhaps they were not walking beside you in the first place. What is meant to grow in your life will still require your care, your presence, and your patience. But it should not require you to live in constant panic. So learn to give without losing yourself. Learn to care without becoming dependent on the outcome. Learn to love while keeping your dignity. The strongest position is not always holding on tighter. Sometimes it is having the courage to loosen your grip and trust that you do not need to chase what is truly willing to meet you halfway. Distance is often misunderstood as the enemy of connection. When someone becomes less present, when conversations become shorter, when paths begin to separate, the mind immediately assumes that something has been lost. The heart becomes restless because human beings naturally fear emptiness. We become attached to routines, voices, messages, and familiar presence. When those things disappear, we feel the absence before we understand its meaning. But distance can reveal what closeness sometimes hides. When someone is always near, you may become so accustomed to their presence that you stop seeing the connection clearly. Familiarity can make you take certain things for granted. You may confuse daily communication with deep understanding. You may confuse emotional dependence with love. You may confuse comfort with compatibility. Only when there is space between two people do these questions begin to appear. What exactly do I miss? Do I miss this person? Or do I miss the attention they gave me? Do I miss the connection? Or do I simply fear being alone? These are not easy questions. They require honesty. And honesty often becomes clearer in silence. Distance removes many distractions. There are no daily messages to analyze, no constant moments of reassurance, no immediate opportunities to hide from your own thoughts. You are left alone with what you truly feel. At first, this can be painful. Your mind may repeatedly return to old memories. You may remember every conversation and wonder what you could have done differently. You may imagine different outcomes and create stories about what the other person is thinking. But if you remain still long enough, the noise begins to settle. And beneath that noise, truth begins to appear. Sometimes distance shows you that the connection was built mostly on habit. You may realize that what you thought was love was actually a fear of losing familiarity. Sometimes distance reveals that you were giving far more than you were receiving. You may finally see patterns that were difficult to recognize while you were emotionally involved. When you are standing inside a storm, you cannot always see its full shape. Sometimes you must step back before you understand what was truly happening. Distance can also show you the strength of a genuine connection. When two people are no longer constantly present in each other's lives, superficial attraction may fade, but something deeper can remain. Respect can remain. Care can remain. The desire to see the other person grow can remain. If a connection has meaning, time and space may change its form without completely erasing its impact. But this does not mean you should stop your life and wait endlessly. This is where many people become trapped. They romanticize distance and turn waiting into an identity. Every day becomes focused on one question: will they come back? Every decision becomes connected to the possibility of another meeting. They stop moving forward because they believe that staying emotionally frozen is proof of loyalty. But life does not ask you to become frozen distant. Maybe teaching you something about yourself. Perhaps you have spent so much time trying to understand another person that you have forgotten to understand your own heart. Perhaps your identity became connected to the relationship. Perhaps you forgot what brings you peace when no one else is there to provide it. Then distance becomes a mirror. It shows you who you are without the connection constantly standing in front of you. You may discover interests you ignored. You may become stronger emotionally. You may learn how to enjoy your own company. You may finally give attention to wounds that you once tried to escape through another person. And as you begin to heal, you may notice something surprising. You are no longer the same person who first experienced the separation. This is the hidden power of distance. It can transform longing into understanding. It can transform confusion into clarity. It can transform dependence into inner strength. Perhaps the connection was meant to return, and perhaps it was not. But while time continues to move, you must also move. Let the distance reveal rather than destroy you. Let silence teach you what constant conversation could not. Let the absence of another person become an opportunity to become more present in your own life. And if your paths ever cross again, you may meet not as the same people who once separated, but as two souls who have each learned something important in the space between them. A true connection begins when you stop performing and allow yourself to be seen as you really are. Many people enter relationships carrying invisible masks. They hide their fears, suppress their opinions, pretend to enjoy things they dislike, and say yes when their heart wants to say no. They believe that if they reveal too much of their true self, the other person may lose interest and walk away, so they become whatever they think they need to become. But pretending creates a painful problem. The more someone loves the version of you that is not real, the more afraid you become of revealing who you truly are. Every conversation becomes an act. Every reaction is carefully controlled. You begin to ask, what do they want me to say? Instead of, what do I honestly feel? And slowly, the connection becomes heavy. You may be standing beside someone, yet feel completely unseen. They may love you, but a part of you will always wonder whether they truly know you at all. How can they know you when you have spent so much time hiding? Real connection requires honesty. Not the kind of honesty used to hurt another person, but the courage to speak truth with respect. It means allowing someone to see your imperfections without believing that every weakness makes you unworthy of love. You are allowed to have fears. You are allowed to disagree. You are allowed to have boundaries. You do not need to become smaller just to make someone comfortable. The right connection does not ask you to erase yourself. You may need to grow, learn, and improve. But growth is different from pretending. Growth allows you to become more fully yourself. Pretending forces you to become someone else. There is always a risk in authenticity. Some people may leave when they finally see the real you. But it is better to lose a false connection than to spend years protecting a mask. The deepest bonds are built when two people can stand without pretending to be perfect, without constantly proving their worth, and without hiding the truth of who they are. Only then can two souls truly meet, not the masks they created, but the human beings behind them. Some of the most powerful connections in life are misunderstood because we have been taught to believe that if a bond is deep, it must last forever. We assume that if someone enters our life and changes us, they must be meant to remain beside us until the end. But life does not always work in that way. Some souls meet not to belong to one another, but to awaken something within one another. A person can enter your life and change the way you see yourself. They may arrive when you have forgotten your strength and remind you that you still have a voice. They may show you kindness at a time when you had forgotten that kindness exists. They may challenge your beliefs, expose your fears, or make you realize that you have been living far below your true potential. Their presence may feel extraordinary because it touches a part of you that has been sleeping. And when they leave, you may believe that everything they gave you has disappeared. But look more carefully. Perhaps what they awakened still remains. Perhaps they taught you how deeply you are capable of loving. Perhaps they showed you a standard you had never experienced before. Perhaps they revealed a weakness that you needed to confront. Perhaps their absence forced you to discover strength you never knew you possessed. Not every meaningful connection is meant to be possessed. To possess someone means to believe that their existence belongs to you. You become afraid of their freedom because you believe their choices threaten your happiness. You begin to confuse love with control. You want to know where they are, what they feel, what they are thinking, and whether they will always remain close. But another human being is not an object to be owned. No matter how deeply you love someone, you cannot control their journey. You cannot force them to heal before they are ready. You cannot make them understand what they refuse to see. You cannot choose their growth, their timing, or the direction they decide to take. Love becomes painful when we try to hold another soul as if they belong inside our hands. The tighter you hold, the more fear enters your heart. True connection requires a different kind of strength. It requires you to care deeply without believing that care gives you ownership. It allows you to appreciate a person's presence while respecting their freedom. It teaches you that love can exist without control. This does not mean accepting disrespect or allowing someone to repeatedly hurt you. Freedom is not an excuse for harmful behavior. A deep connection does not mean you must tolerate betrayal, dishonesty, manipulation, or emotional pain. You can love someone and still choose distance. You can recognize that a person was important to your life and still understand that remaining close to them is no longer healthy for your peace. Sometimes the awakening happens through closeness. Sometimes it happens through loss. A person may enter your life and teach you what you truly desire. Another may show you what you will no longer accept. One person may awaken your ability to trust, while another awakens your need for boundaries. The lesson may not always be comfortable. Sometimes the person who awakens you is the person who disappoints you. They may expose an attachment you did not know you had. They may reveal how much of your identity you placed inside another person's hands. They may force you to confront the fear of being alone. And through that pain, you may begin a journey toward yourself. This is why you should not measure the meaning of every connection only by its duration. Some people stay for decades and leave little impact. Others appear briefly and change the direction of your entire life. Time does not always determine significance. A soul may meet another soul for a season, a lesson, a transformation, or a shared chapter. The value of that meeting does not disappear simply because the chapter ends. You can be grateful for what someone awakened in you without spending the rest of your life trying to possess their presence. You can honor the memory without becoming trapped inside it. You can carry the wisdom forward without carrying the attachment forever. Perhaps the greatest question is not, why could I not keep them? Perhaps it is, what became alive within me because we met? That question can change the meaning of everything. It allows you to see a connection not only through the pain of losing someone, but through the awareness you gained. And sometimes what you were searching for in another soul was actually something that their presence helped you discover within your own. Human beings often want answers before life is ready to give them. We want to know when something will happen, whether someone will return, and if the future we imagine will ever become real. The mind finds uncertainty uncomfortable, so it begins searching for signs, creating predictions, and trying to control outcomes that are not yet within its hands. But life has its own timing. Sometimes two people meet when they are not ready to understand each other. One may still be healing from the past. The other may be afraid of commitment, change, or vulnerability. Both may feel a connection, yet lack the emotional maturity to handle it. This does not always mean the connection was meaningless. Sometimes people must continue their individual journeys before they can truly understand what they need, who they are, and how they want to love. You cannot force readiness. You cannot force someone to become emotionally available simply because you are ready. You cannot demand that life follow the schedule you created in your mind. The more you fight against timing, the more exhausted you become. Instead of placing your entire life on hold, continue moving forward. Keep learning, keep growing, keep building a life that has meaning even when the person you miss is not standing beside you. Do not allow waiting to become your purpose. If your paths are meant to cross again, let that future meeting find you stronger, wiser, and more connected to yourself. Sometimes people reconnect after time has changed them. A conversation that was impossible years ago becomes easier because both people have grown. Old misunderstandings become clearer. What once felt like rejection may later be understood as fear, confusion, or unfinished healing. But you must never sacrifice the present while waiting for a future that is not guaranteed. Trusting life does not mean remaining passive. It means doing what you can with honesty and courage. Then releasing what you cannot control. Let the future remain open. If two paths are meant to meet again, time may create the opportunity. And if they do not, the journey you continued walking will still lead you towards something meaningful. The important thing is not to stand still, begging life for certainty. Keep becoming, keep moving, and allow what belongs in your journey to reveal itself in its own time. So, if you are thinking about someone you cannot forget, do not let your heart become a prison of questions. Do not spend every day wondering when they will return, why they left, or whether destiny will bring your paths together again. Some answers are not meant to be forced. Some journeys can only be understood after you have walked through them. When two souls are meant to meet, life may place distance between them. Time may change them. Silence may test them. They may walk in completely different directions for a while, but distance alone cannot destroy the purpose of a connection that still has meaning to fulfill. And yet, remember this carefully. Destiny is not an excuse to stop living. Do not abandon your life while waiting for someone else to find their way. Do not lose your peace trying to force a reunion. Do not chase someone because you are afraid that letting go means losing them forever. What is truly meant to meet you does not need your fear to survive. Your task is not to control every path, every person, or every outcome.